Leo, you need to hear this today, not because you're weak, not because you're lost, but because you're right on the edge of something life-changing. A miracle is coming at the last moment. Not because you've been punished. Because your soul has been preparing for this exact moment all along. You didn't land on this video by chance. Life might feel random lately, like you're moving through it with a blindfold on, trying to stay strong even when no one sees how much you're carrying. But the truth is, you were guided here. This is divine timing. And I want to honor that. There's been a shift in your energy lately, hasn't there? You may not have had the words for it, but you've felt it. Like a slow rumble inside your chest. Maybe you've been tired for reasons that don't quite make sense. Maybe you felt isolated or overlooked, even when you're surrounded by people. And maybe, just maybe, V whispered a quiet, please, to the universe, hoping something out there was still listening. This is your confirmation. It heard you. And no, you're not crazy for holding on. Because what's arriving isn't just a result of what you've done. It's who you've become. All those moments you kept going, even with a heart that was breaking. All the times you chose integrity, even when it would have been easier to quit or get even. That's why the miracle is coming now. Your soul earned this. Your timing is perfect. You see, Leo, people think karma is punishment. But that's not what it is. True karma is clarity. It's the universe returning what's aligned with the energy you've been living in. And no matter how messy things have been showing up with courage, honesty, and a heart that still dares to believe. This next chapter isn't about working harder or pushing through. It's about letting go of the guilt, the weight, the outdated belief that you have to suffer to receive. You don't. You've already proven your worth. And what's coming isn't just fair, it's overdue. If you're feeling something shift right now, don't brush it off. Stay with it. There's something sacred in this moment. Like standing right before the rain breaks and the light comes through. Stay open to it. That quiet breakthrough you've been waiting for? It's unfolding right now, not in chaos, but in alignment. So if your heart's been tired, if your faith has been tested, if your hope is running on empty, I want you to know you're closer than you've ever been. What you're stepping into isn't a reward for doing more. It's a reflection of who you've become. Take a breath. You've made it this far. And I promise, what's on the other side of this moment is worth everything you've walked through. Now, if this message found you at the right time, tell me below. Let me know how this is landing for you. I read every word. And when you write it, you claim it. Write in the comments, I believe in the miracle that's meant for me. You're not late. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're right on time. And you are more ready than you think. Stay with me, because what we're about to uncover next will show you why the waiting was never in vain. Leo, if it's felt like everything around you has been moving in slow motion lately, opportunities stalling, people pulling away, even your motivation dipping lower than usual, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not doing anything wrong. What you're feeling right now isn't a punishment. It's a sacred pause. Astrologically, we've been under the influence of Saturn retrograde and a waning moon, two cosmic forces that often make life feel heavy, still, uncertain. But their true purpose isn't to trap you. They're here to invite you inward. To sit you down gently and whisper, "Wait. There's something you haven't seen yet." In the tarot, this phase is mirrored by the Hanged Man. A figure suspended not in pain, but in patience. He isn't fighting his way out. He's surrendering to the stillness because he understands true clarity doesn't come when you're running. It comes in the moments when you're willing to stop. You may not realize it yet, but you've been in a phase of energetic detox. Life has been asking you to clear out what no longer belongs, whether that's an old belief about your worth, a relationship that drains you, or an identity you've outgrown. And like a seed buried deep in the dark, you're not stuck. You're being prepared to bloom. In numerology, this energy resonates deeply with the number 9, the completion of a cycle. Not a dead end, but a doorway. You're standing at the edge of something bigger than you can currently see. And that quiet space? That moment when everything feels paused? That's the exact moment your roots are taking hold in the soil. That's the foundation of your next chapter. Now, if you found yourself needing more time alone, craving quiet, or feeling like you're out of sync with the world around you, don't shame yourself for that. What may feel like isolation is actually initiation. You're not being cut off, you're being called inward. You're not meant to keep up with everyone else right now. You're meant to realign with you. This is where the law of attraction becomes incredibly important to understand. The universe isn't withholding from you. It's calibrating to meet you at your new frequency. And trust me, your frequency is rising. But in order for what's meant for you to arrive, you have to let go of what's misaligned. You have to allow the reset. You have to be willing to not rush the blooming. There's a deep kind of healing happening here, one that doesn't look pretty on the outside. It doesn't look like joy or success just yet. It looks like confusion, fatigue, stillness. But don't let that fool you. The deepest work always happens underground. The soil has to settle before something can grow. And it's okay to grieve what's leaving, even if you know it wasn't meant to stay. It's okay to feel hurt by someone who couldn't walk with you through this transformation. But know this, anyone who left didn't walk away from your worth. They walked away from their readiness. Let them go. Not because you're cold, but because your energy is becoming too valuable to be placed in unworthy hands. So let me ask you something. Have you felt like time has slowed down recently? Like the people or plans you once relied on have started to fade? Can you write down what you've learned from that? Because the answers you're searching for won't come from pushing harder. They'll come from honoring what this season is teaching you about trust, about timing, and about how deeply supported you truly are even when it's quiet. This part of your journey may not be glamorous, but it's sacred. It's the space where you choose to believe in growth before you can see it. Where you keep showing up for yourself even when there's no applause. And when the moment is right, when your roots have settled and your soul has exhaled, what's meant for you will rise like sunlight through the cracks. And you'll understand that the stillness wasn't a setback. It was soil. It was surrender. It was the miracle quietly forming beneath your feet all along. Right when you think you've got nothing left in you, when the weight of trying feels heavier than the hope that kept you going, something happens. A small shift. A light cracking through the dense sky. The energy changes. And suddenly, the thing you were about to give up on shows up. This is what I want to talk to you about now. In the tarot, this moment is captured by the 9 of Wands. It's the card of the exhausted warrior. Not defeated, just tired. Bruised but still standing. You've been showing up over and over again, fighting battles people don't even know you're in. And maybe part of you wonders, how much longer can I hold on? How much more do I have to prove? If that's where you are right now, I need you to listen carefully. Because the miracle never comes when everything's easy. It comes right at the edge. Right at the moment when the logical part of you says, I can't do this anymore. And then there it is. The call, the answer, the open door. The right person at the right time. The clarity that helps it all make sense. From an astrological perspective, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, blessings, and abundance, is moving through areas of your chart that have been asleep for a while. But here's the thing about Jupiter, it doesn't knock loudly. It whispers. And unless you're listening with faith, you might miss it. That's why right now, your challenge isn't to force the outcome. It's to stay present. To stay hopeful. And to stay open. This is where the law of attraction meets reality. People think faith is passive, but it's not. Faith is active. It's choosing to believe again when nothing's improved. It's making space in your life for something better, even before you can see it. The stronger your belief, the more magnetic your energy becomes. You're not just hoping anymore, you're realigning. And when you align, things speed up. Think of it like climbing a mountain. The moment you feel like collapsing is often when you're already near the summit. But because the peak isn't in sight yet, your mind tells you to quit. What it doesn't know is that one more step will bring you above the clouds. That's the beauty of divine timing, it's invisible until it's undeniable. And maybe you're thinking, I've believed before, and nothing happened. I've waited, and the door stayed closed. But let me tell you something I've learned from years of watching the stars, the cards, and the hearts of people like you. Nothing you've asked for has been ignored. It's just been preparing. Shaping itself into something you can actually hold on to. And that takes time. Not delay preparation. There's a reason the color gold is associated with this stage. Gold doesn't tarnish in the fire. It refines. And that's what you're doing right now. Becoming solid. Pure. Ready. The hard part is not losing heart while the fire's still burning. So here's what I want you to think about. Can you remember a time when you were ready to give up and something unexpected happened? A shift. A call. A message. A small sign that pulled you back up. Those weren't coincidences. Those were previews of what faith can do. And now, you're being asked to believe again. But this time, from a deeper place. If this message is finding you at a point where you're hanging by a thread, don't be ashamed of that. Threads are enough. Sometimes they're the only thing strong enough to hold a soul steady while the universe rearranges everything behind the scenes. I want you to share something in the comments today, not for me, but for someone else who might be scrolling, hopeless, and find strength in your words. Tell us about a time you almost gave up but something turned around. Be the reminder someone else needs. And if you don't have that story yet, maybe this is the moment you'll look back on and say, this is when things started to change. The miracle will come at the last moment. Don't let go just before the door opens. You've made it too far. And the next breath you take in faith, might be the one that carries you into the light. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and instead begin to ask, "What was I meant to learn from this?" That moment, quiet as it may seem, is the beginning of liberation. If you've ever stared at the ceiling late at night wondering why pain keeps finding its way back to your doorstep, I want to offer a different lens. What if the pain wasn't here to punish you but to wake something up in you? In the tarot, this stage of your evolution is reflected through the Justice card. It's not emotional. It's not angry. It's not here to take sides. Justice simply restores balance. And karma, at its truest level, works the same way. It doesn't strike back in rage. It simply responds. It's not retribution, it's recalibration. You see, karma doesn't come to destroy. It comes to teach. It reflects the lessons your soul still needs in order to return to alignment. It's the echo of energy not yet resolved, circling back so you can face it from a place of wisdom, not reaction. Sometimes that echo comes through people. People who mistreat you, disrespect you, disappear on you. And it hurts, I know. But most of the time, those people didn't show up to ruin your path, they showed up to reveal where you were still letting yourself be too small. There's something you need to know if you're going through this now. The people who hurt you are not the punishment. The pattern they represent is the mirror. They push up against the edges of your growth so you can finally learn to say, no more. Energetically speaking, Leo is moving through a karmic axis this season, what we call the nodal shift in astrology. That means old contracts are being reviewed, soul lessons are being highlighted, and emotional baggage is coming to the surface for clearing. But nothing is resurfacing to punish you. It's resurfacing because you're finally strong enough to let it go. And letting go doesn't always mean walking away. Sometimes it simply means no longer allowing certain memories or people to live rent-free in your nervous system. In numerology, this energy is tied to the number 6, the number of harmony and healing after imbalance. It asks, can you return to peace without needing everyone to understand your side? Can you create inner harmony, even if outer circumstances stay messy? True emotional maturity isn't getting closure from them, it's giving peace to yourself. Here's where the law of attraction comes into play again. When you hold on to anger or resentment, you lower your frequency to match the very energy you want to move beyond. But when you choose peace, when you choose release, you instantly shift. You raise your vibration, and the universe responds in kind. Not because you've earned it through perfection, but because you've aligned with it through grace. Forgiveness, then, isn't about saying, what they did was okay. It's about saying, I won't let what they did define me anymore. You're not forgiving them for their sake. You're forgiving so you can finally move forward unchained. It's a strange truth, but I've seen it play out more times than I can count. The moment you release the need for justice to come from the outside, balance begins to restore itself within. And from that place, miracles start to move again. Clarity flows in. Peace grows roots. Life begins to feel lighter, not because it got easier, but because you got freer. So let me ask you, are you ready to forgive, not for them, but for you? Are you willing to step outside the loop of needing someone else to fix what they broke, and instead build something new with your own hands? Because you can. You truly can. And if this moment feels like a breaking point, maybe it's also a birthing point. The place where you stop carrying what wasn't yours and start creating what is. The past may explain you, but it does not define you. And neither does the pain. Not anymore. If this resonates with where you are right now, I want to invite you to claim your shift out loud. Write this in the comments below, not just for yourself, but for anyone who might be reading and feel less alone because of your courage. I choose freedom. I do not choose resentment. Let it be a prayer. Let it be a turning point. Let it be the seed that breaks the cycle. Because you're not here to keep reliving old pain. You're here to transform it into wisdom and walk forward in light. When you've spent enough time in silence after the chaos, the grief, and the letting go, something surprising starts to happen. You begin to hear yourself again. Not the voice of fear. Not the echo of old stories. But the voice of the version of you that has been patiently waiting for permission to return. In the tarot, this part of your path is reflected by the Lovers or the Two of Cups, not just about romance, but about sacred reconnection. Sometimes, the person you need to reunite with isn't someone out there. It's the version of you that you've been quietly avoiding. The dreamer. The believer. The artist. The one who used to light up without trying. That self might have been buried under layers of responsibility, heartbreak, rejection, or simply survival. But the energy right now is calling that version back. Gently. Like a memory you're finally strong enough to hold again. Energetically speaking, I often describe this process as a thawing. There are parts of you that went cold not because you didn't care, but because caring too much once hurt too deeply. So you shut certain doors. You silenced certain feelings. You called it being realistic. But the truth is, you were protecting something sacred. And now that your roots are deeper, your heart is steadier, you're being invited to warm those frozen places again. To feel, to hope, to want. From an energy healing perspective, this is where the heart chakra, your energetic center of connection and compassion, begins to reawaken. And just like the color turquoise that resonates with this part of the body, the healing is both subtle and deep. It's not about forcing joy. It's about creating space for softness. It's about allowing yourself to receive without guilt. And more importantly, to express love, whether that's toward yourself, a passion, a person, or even a part of the past you're ready to forgive. Self-healing at this stage often begins by doing the simplest yet most powerful thing, remembering. Remembering what you used to love. What made you feel alive? What gave you goosebumps or made time disappear? Was it painting? Writing? Playing music? Traveling? Telling stories? Dreaming about a life that didn't yet exist? Whatever it was, even if you haven't touched it in years, it's not gone. It's dormant. And your energy is finally rising enough to bring it back. You don't need to make a big declaration. Sometimes all it takes is lighting a candle, putting pen to paper, listening to that one song that cracks you open. Try this, write a letter to the version of you that once loved freely. Not to fix the past, but to acknowledge it. Or close your eyes and picture yourself doing something you've missaid, no pressure to act on it. Just allow the vision to breathe. Or let your hands move across a page or canvas, not to create something perfect, but to let your soul speak in color or shape. These small acts are invitations. And your spirit is listening. This process is not about going backward. It's not about reliving your old self. It's about integrating it, bringing the best of who you were into the strength of who you are now. You're not who you used to be, and that's okay. But you don't have to abandon everything that once brought you light. In fact, that light may be the exact thing you need to navigate what comes next. So let me ask you, is there something you once loved deeply, that life made you put away? Something that felt like home to your soul, even if the world didn't understand it? I want you to write that down. Not because you need to go back to it today, but because writing it is how you begin letting it live again. You are not too old, too late, or too far gone to feel fully alive again. You're simply being asked to come home to yourself. One feeling at a time. One memory at a time. One brave breath at a time. What you're healing now isn't just pain. It's connection. To your inner child. To your creative spirit. To your sense of wonder. And once that connection flows again, Levine, all form starts to find you with ease. Not because you chased it, but because you became the space for it. Let this be that space. And let today be the day you say to yourself, softly but clearly, I remember what I love. And I'm ready to let it love me back. There's something deeply symbolic about the Ace of Pentacles appearing after a season of emotional reset. If the previous chapter of your life asked you to reopen your heart, this chapter gently urges you to open your hands. To stop clenching. To stop bracing. And simply receive. This card is a seed, and like all sacred seeds, it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It doesn't knock loudly on your door. It appears quietly in the soil beneath your feet, often right at the moment you're too tired to keep digging. If you felt lately like you're running on fumes, like you've been pouring from a cup that no longer refills, this message is for you. There is a new beginning approaching, one grounded in reality, in tangible abundance, in something you can hold. It's not a fantasy. It's not wishful thinking. It's a manifestation that has been forming behind the scenes, and now, under the upcoming full moon's illumination, it wants to take shape. But here's the thing most people don't realize: even blessings need space to land. Imagine walking through life with a giant, invisible backpack strapped to your shoulders full of other people's expectations, past disappointments, fears, debts, deadlines, wounds. How could you possibly notice the small golden coin that Spirit is placing behind you? You're too focused on the road ahead, trying to survive. But what if you stopped for just one moment? What if you turned around? The miracle is not just coming. In many ways, it has already arrived. But like a seed under rich soil, its first movement is invisible. That job offer you're waiting for? That check in the mail? That person who's about to say the words you've been longing to hear? It's already circling. Your only job now is to make room. Not through force. Not through pushing harder. But by resting. By softening. By trusting that it's not always about effort sometimes, it's about readiness. Let me be real with you, I've walked through enough fire in my life to know what it feels like to be weary. To always be on alert. To feel like the only way to stay afloat is to keep swimming, even when your limbs are tired. But here's what I've also learned: sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is float. To let the current of divine timing carry you, even when you don't know where it's going. Surrender is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the knowing that you don't always have to have all the answers, you just have to be present enough to catch the next sign. In a practical sense, your body is the first to know when something new is trying to come through. So take care of it. Nourish it. Add more zinc-rich foods like pumpkin seeds, lentils, spinach. Hydrate. Breathe deeply through the nose. Give yourself permission to nap. These aren't luxuries. They are energetic doorways. When you rest, you become more magnetic. When you soften, the universe can speak to you more clearly. And now, I ask you, do you feel it? That quiet knowing that something is shifting? Maybe you can't explain it, but there's a stirring. A small internal whisper saying, something is on its way. If that voice is present in you now, write it down. Let it be your declaration to the universe, I am ready. I'm not forcing. I'm receiving. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your power. Because sometimes, the miracle doesn't come when you fight for it. Sometimes, the miracle arrives when you finally stop fighting. And when it does, it changes everything. Now breathe. And trust. Sometimes the most powerful shifts in our lives don't come wrapped in fireworks or grand applause. They arrive like whispers in the dark quiet, unannounced, and sacred. And often, we miss them not because they're not real, but because we're still holding on too tightly to what's been lost. But Leo, hear me now, you are not being punished. You are being positioned. And the silence you feel around you is not abandonment, it's preparation. The delay is not rejection, it's divine alignment. You see, when the soul is ready to receive, the universe doesn't always roar, it listens. And in these quiet moments, where everything feels uncertain, that's where faith is born. That's where miracles unfold, not because you forced them, but because you surrendered to their timing. It takes incredible courage to loosen your grip, to stop pushing through, and to trust that even in stillness, life is moving in your favor. Think of the Ace of Pentacles. A tiny seed, hidden under layers of soil, surrounded by darkness yet destined to become a towering tree. It does not fight the soil. It doesn't resist the stillness. It trusts that something greater is unfolding beneath the surface. Can you do the same for yourself now? Can you believe that what you cannot yet see is already blooming in the field of your life? You've come so far, Leo. You've weathered storms that others never knew existed. And yet, here you are, still standing, still hoping, still open. That in itself is a miracle. But what's coming next? It's not just survival. It's your soul's elevation. This isn't karma repaying debts, this is your destiny restoring balance. Take care of your vessel. Rest. Breathe deeply. Nourish yourself. Don't confuse activity with progress. Sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is pause. This week, let yourself be still enough to feel the new path forming beneath your feet. Let yourself imagine again. Hope again. Dream again. Because that door you thought was closed, it's quietly opening behind you. That opportunity you thought was lost, it's circling back with your name written on it. And that miracle you stopped praying for, it's arriving the last moment, just in time. Let me ask you something. Can you feel something coming? A breakthrough, a message, a shift in the wind? If yes, comment below and affirm it. Write, I choose the light instead of fear. Let that be your declaration that you're ready to receive. If this message touched your heart, if it spoke to something deep within you, please like this video and subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness. Let this be the start of a sacred practitia space where your spirit feels seen and supported. And if you know someone who is walking through the dark right now, share this with them. You might be the voice that saves their hope. You don't need to be perfect to receive a miracle. You just need to be present. And I want you to remember this one last thing. I see the light in you even if you don't yet. But that light, it never left. It has only been waiting for the right moment to shine again. And Leo, that moment is now.